understanding in this country. It was just like the anti-war movement through the 70s. It was very much needed. Anytime that the populace, us, and I include myself with this, turn around and feel like we've been betrayed, we must stand up and voice ourselves. And we have been betrayed in the biggest way possible. This government, and I'm not saying Obama, I'm saying the entire government, starting back, you can go back 30 years, and it started then when they started to deregulate the banks, started to really take its share of greed to the highest level. And what has happened is that they stuck us with a bill that's going to go into our great-great-grandchildren. And as far as I'm concerned, they don't deserve to be out of jail. I think all those people should be in jail.
Being an activist in Hollywood, is that an agent's worst nightmare? Do they want to say, oh, Edward, don't do that, don't get in a tree, you'll be arrested with Chris, don't do it.
I've been arrested. You guys know I was arrested, right? What for? I'm so cool, they call me culo.
Right over there.
Okay, just let me finish this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was arrested, and I spent 30 days in the federal penitentiary for trying to stop the bombing in Vieques in Puerto Rico. And we were successful. We stopped the bombings, and it got me thrown in prison. But, you know, I have been very much in the front lines, and I highly thank all the people who have sacrificed themselves for the betterment of all of us. Right over there.
Forgive me, I'm getting over a cold. First off, I'd like to say it's nice to see you again. You spoke at my university a couple of years back, and it was very inspirational. And at the end of Battlestar Galactica, they showed several clips of sort of the current state of robotics. And then at the end of Caprica, of course, there was a very large sequence on the integration of the Cylons into colonial society and the seeds of their downfall, as it were. However, I see when I look at current technology that it seems to be going in the reverse. We have circuit boards that you can now wear on your arm like tattoos. A lot of technology seems to be going in a more biologically mechanical way. And do you think that perhaps maybe we won't invent Cylons as robots that become sentient, but that we may simply become them by adding machine technology to ourselves?
Exactly. Singularity is near, very near, and you have to really come to terms with it. You don't get it until one day you get it. I mean, if we brought somebody back, you know, that had been passed away for the last 20 years, and we brought them back into our society, they would be in awe of what we're able to do, you know, with our computers and our systems and our telephones, you know. I mean, we're so close to being singular. Singularity is this, as expressed by Ray Kurzweil and many, many people. Singularity is when non-biological thought, okay, computers, all that, comes together with biological thought. Okay, that's human brain. So when those two come together, then we have, quote unquote, singularity. Now, it's very near. And what is a Cylon?
A biological machine?
It's two. It's a machine, and it's human. And so they brought it together. Now, just because we're not going to make the body and make the machine, but we're going to turn ourselves into Cylons, okay, there's no difference. So you soon will have a nanochip in the back of your brain where you will be able to use exactly how you use your, you know, your Google, and you use your, you know, MySpace, and you use all this stuff to communicate. You'll be able to communicate with the transference from your direct brain. There's only one major problem, is that the government will not allow us privacy. And that pisses me off. Because as far as what I'm concerned, they're going to cause a major breakdown between the humanity that we are. Because they're going into our mainframes. They're already doing it. They're already constructing the capacity, and they already have it, to regulate every single IP number into a database, which they have. Then they can go into those databases at their will for national security and check to see anything and everything that you're doing. Doesn't matter what you're doing. They can just IP your number. You say, what's his number? Da, da, da. Okay, how many numbers do you have? Da, 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 da. Okay, got it. Okay, what has he been saying? What has he been doing? What does he buy? What does he eat? What does he do? And with that, it takes away our privacy, and we can't do a thing about it right now. We will eventually, what we'll do is we'll actually go up against, it'll be a revolution. And revolutions start with Occupy, with anti, gang, anti-war, anti-movements that completely encompass the passion of us as human beings. And it's coming. People, get ready. Don't be the person who's caught not understanding. We at Sci-Fi, we have the understanding of what imagination is. And we always come, and we always understand it. They turn around and say that we're geeks or whatever. No, what we're doing is we're really imagining, and we're moving forward on the imagination. And you have a great responsibility. So stay strong and move forward. Don't try to change people's minds. Just show and lead by example. That's it.
Right over there.
I actually had a two-part question. The first one is, when you're offered a role, is there something specific you look for in the character before you accept it? And then the second part is, how do you get into that character once you do?
In the first portion, yes, there is something I look for. It's story. I'll play the doorstop to the lead, and anywhere in between, if the story's right. If I have passion for that story, then I can do it. I'm not a good actor, I become a good actor with great story. Because I find myself in great stories, I say, oh man, then the actor that I am, which is learning every day, but I did not come out of my mother's womb saying to be or not to be. I'm not naturally, talented. So a lot of people who sit up here and who feel that they are very gifted. I am not. It took me a long time to get here, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing. Because basically, it's an ongoing process. And since I don't know what I'm doing, and I came out of this from not knowing anything to trying to be inside of it, I've done it with understanding the 10,000 hour syndrome. Do you guys know what that is? It takes 10,000 hours of something that you love passionately that you have to do, and you have to mark down the hours, 10,000 of them, not 9,999, but 10,000. When you reach the 10,000th hour of your real true commitment inside of whatever it is that you have passion for, you will be the best that you can be, and watch out. It works.
Thank you.
Did I hear at some point you say just a minute ago that you're a good actor, not a great actor? Yeah. I don't know what's worse, me not understanding the unicorn or you not understanding you're a fantastic actor.
Well,
right over here.
First of all, thank you for coming to Comicon. It's great to see you here. Some friends and I loved Battlestar Galactica, and Admiral Adama basically carried the whole fleet. He had the responsibility of the whole fleet. Did you feel that kind of paternal responsibility to the other actors and the show itself, just as a more experienced actor in the show?
from the very beginning, there was a very, very strong understanding of what my part was in front of the camera and behind the camera. And it really just was one in which we just celebrated. I made sure that everyone knew, because a lot of the artists and the craftspeople that were working with us, the actors that were working with us, were doing something for the very first time. Not that they had been acting for just a short while, no. This was their first major breakthrough. And so they were being now presented to the world as actors, and they were using a craft which they had been studying for a long time, and they were pushing it forward. But this was their very first major piece of work. So all of these people had to understand that they were involved with something that was really beyond the normality of what it is that we do. I have been doing this for over 47 years, and I got to tell you this right now. I've never been given the opportunity to use television the way I did with this program. The usage of television was one of the highest I've ever seen on the planet. I mean, there's been a few shows that get into using it periodically. And then what I mean by that is it actually shows a light and brings an incredible mirror to the society that's watching it. That affects everybody. It affected Europe as much as it affected Africa, as much as it affected the Western Hemisphere and the Scandinavian countries. And everybody that saw it found themselves in it because we represented humanity, and it was the extinction of humanity done by the technology that we had created, and which makes it very difficult. We created the Cylon. We created nuclear warfare. We have more bombs than anybody in this country, but there are too many bombs on the planet, you know, and we are like, what are we doing with them? What are we going to do with them? You know, at one point, I remember when I was like in 1957, 56, 57, a report came out that said if 19 atomic bombs were exploded simultaneously at the exact same time, it would knock the orbit of the Earth out, and we would be cast into the sun. 19 atomic bombs. How many nuclear weapons have to go off on the planet simultaneously, all at the same time, for that to happen to our planet? No one knows, really, and if they do know, they don't say it. There are people who know it, who know exactly what would destroy this planet, and they know if the X amount of nuclear weapons went off at the exact same time. And that's you've seen them? How many times have we seen the understanding of what's going to happen? You throw one rocket at us, we're going to throw 25 at you, and we're going to knock out your rocket, and we're going to bomb you, and they're all going to hit at the same time, right on your land, and we're going to annihilate you. That's our way of causing people not to do something bad to us. Defense. A good offense is a good defense. And so our defenses are strong, and they're getting stronger. The stuff we have in the air looking at everybody, we got the whole planet. It's very small now. We got the whole planet under control. So we think. Until somebody walks along and just like so stupidly does something really ridiculous, like, simple. Just drive a couple of planes into the Twin Towers. Or better yet, just go. We're lucky they didn't put one into fly 2 planes into a nuclear reactor. What would have happened? What kind of a meltdown? What kind of China syndrome could they have created that would have wiped out, half the United States? Who knows? I mean, we don't until it's too late. So I tell you this right now, we are to that point now. We have to take concern for ourselves, and we have to take concern for what's going on. So I talk too much.
Thank you.
Sir, now, I think all my questions have been answered, mainly the political ones, but, first of all, I think I can speak for everyone here and how much we appreciate you staying the full 3 days and just even coming out here. And I don't know, I was going to ask you about the whole UN and everything, but my buddy brought up a good point. You should write a book about everything. And we will all buy it and read it every day.
So say we all.
So say we all. But you should write a book. That would be really great.
Thank you, and I'll try to do that.
Well, when you have time.
Maybe on the plane ride back.
Yeah. Bust out your laptop.
Right over here.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I'm also an organizer, and one of my most influential moments is on VHS last summer, actually. It's great to hear you mention that. But I have 2 questions, and the first one is, which VSG episode are you most proud of, or really challenging kind of some societal or systemic oppression or something like that through the episode? And my second question is, can you tell us anything about Blood and Chrome, the potential prequel to VSG?
I'll start in reverse. Blood and Chrome, I've just heard recently that it's not going to be picked up. So I don't know when they'll show what they have made on the pilot, but I know that they're not going to do it into a series. Second, as far as my favorite or my most, the one that I think I have to go from the very beginning. The thing that moved me to understand the incredibleness of this show was 33, the very first episode. That set the bar so high that it almost rocked us. When we were making the piece, we came to life. We did it in the pilot, but not like we did in 33. 33, we were all stuck on the ship, and we all knew what the objectives were, what our situation was. So from that moment on, everything came to light. And if you ever want to hook somebody into this show, just let them watch the pilot and then put on your very first episode of 33. And if they like it, they're hooked through the entire piece. You can't get off. And you just want to know what's going to happen to these people. And so 33 was, to me, spoke the most truth to what we stood for and the values and the aesthetics that we carried throughout the rest of the entire 5 years that we went.
Thank you.
Right over there.
Hi, I have a question, but first I'd like to say I think you delivered one of the greatest lines in movies of all time at the end of Blade Runner when you said, "It's too bad she won't live, but then again who does?" It's my favorite line of all time. But as far as Belladonna goes, he's probably one of my favorite characters in a television show of all time. And I was wondering who you drew inspiration from for that part.
Good question. There was another question earlier about this too, as to how I prepare myself for the work, and it comes through music. Music is the key for me to develop characters. I have to find my music before I can actually even start to work. So as soon as I take on a character, whether it be one day, if I got to do it tomorrow, I'll go at that the day before and find the music for that character. And I'll search and search and search until I find it. If I can't find it, then I'm going to be having to invent a music for it and write it or do whatever. But I look for it, and when I did Battlestar, it was pretty compelling. That was really the most difficult one that I've had, because it was, no one knew the time frame. We didn't know when it was. We would ask, Ron Moore, the creator, the revisionist, what was the time frame? And he says, well, we don't know. Well, what do you mean? Well, could be a million years from today. Could be a million years before we are what we are today. And I said, holy mackerel. You have no idea? No. Because we're coming from someplace else, so we can't relate it to what we know here. It's about something else. This is not Earth. I said, oh, shit. I'm in trouble. So by chance, I walked in Vancouver. I was scratching my head. I was going crazy. And I went out and I couldn't find it. And all of a sudden, I heard Diva Pramal. And Diva has done, at the point where I heard it, there was a tremendous work on mantras. The oldest mantra known to the human species, or recorded back 5,000 years ago and been passed on through singing, through oral, was the mantra